But since we have you here, right? Obviously, the G team is all about the NIL. You know, people would associate outside of the personal injury attorney thing, which is actually what y'all do, right?
Exactly.
They associate
real job.
The G team. That's your job. Yeah,
that's my real job.
Yeah,
like Bruce Wayne.
Right. They associate the G team with the NIL, right? I think y'all have done a really good job. Actually, I know that y'all have done a really good job supporting the local athletes here, supporting the LSU athletes, and putting them in a situation to benefit off of name, image, and likeness. A lot of things have changed through the course of the last 2 years since name, image, and likeness became legal. And I think the biggest domino to fall happened last Friday, right? And I know a lot of people have been talking about it. Some people are calling it the beginning of the end of the NCAA. For those of you who don't really know, or maybe know but don't really understand it, Jeff has a very, very good explanation as to what it means and what it actually, what the inducement conversation may lead to. And on Friday, Tennessee, Virginia, and Texas, right? Those are the 3 states that were in this.
Filing a preliminary injunction against the NCAA to stop enforcing a rule.
Right, and that rule is inducement, right? And if you don't know what inducement means, it's I'm trying to ask you to do something by giving you something that entices you to do it, right? Incentivizes you to do something that we want you to do, right? So if I were, and we're going to get into this, I'm going to give an example. Like if I were not an athlete and I was to go and get a new job, and I was pretty good at what I was doing, and they wanted me, this company could hire me and say, hey, this is the contract that we are offering you, and within this contract, here's a $150,000 signing bonus that we want to give to you just for coming over to work with us. That is the definition of inducement. That is not legal in college sports. Can you please give us more details into that? Because we got bugs everywhere.
Yeah. And that's because the NCAA
just like the NCAA.
Yeah, I see the mosquito hawks.
Yep.
Trying to enforce that rule on players and boosters. And so a federal judge in Tennessee granted a preliminary injunction, which will lead next to a permanent injunction. He went ahead and ruled and said that it was unconstitutional for NCAA to enforce this on kids, on boosters, whether they are in their recruiting process or if they're in the transfer portal and have not committed to anyone yet.
So if I'm in the transfer portal and I'm looking to see, okay, where do I want to go to school? And I say, okay, I'm going to go on these visits. I can come on this visit to LSU, and I can have a conversation with, does it have to be a booster? Or can it be with the school? Can the school put you in touch in front of the booster? How does that work?
The boosters are the ones that are.
So the school can't direct you that way?
Yeah, I think the boosters is where the money is.
Okay. So then I'm on this visit, and I go to this booster, and they says, hey, we want you to come here. If you come here, I can give you $175,000.
Yeah.
That's legal now.
It is now legal.
You know what? You know how that's really going to happen too? That's going to happen. Schools are – so like it came out that Arch Manning, Texas, spent a ton of money just to have him on campus and during his visit. You realize like those monies are going to be thrown at guys before they even show up there. Now they're going to be like, look, hey, you come here for this visit, we'll give you this much, and if you commit, there'll be this much on it on that side as well, and kind of keep going with it. They'll keep doing that just to kind of entice guys to even come, and if they're not going to come, all right, no big deal. Why have you here and spend the money that we have with you here if you're not even really looking at coming here anyway?
Right.
So like they're going to start using it. It's going to get wild. What it was is, like he said, like teams were having – there was probably some of this stuff going on under the table. It's no longer under the table. It's over the table. So now you've leveled that playing field. Well, the teams that were behind, they're not going to try to have to do more just to get back on top or into the level playing field. So it's going to turn
run out
into
of money. And your 4 stars, the second level guys, not your big 5. That's all,
Yep.
It's changing on filling out your roster with 4 stars and getting those transfers that were 2 stars that are now – blowing up somewhere. And just so legally you have a background of it, the judge specifically stated in there that he believes it violates federal antitrust laws and it harms the kids. That's a standard that you got to meet in order to make that ruling.
Harms the kids how?
You're preventing them from making
their fair market value.
Period. Yeah. You could get that $150,000, and no one is saying that you can't go get that $150,000. Well, if we made a rule and said, you know what, in the financial industry or whatever world, you can't do that anymore. Well, that's harming you because now they're taking that money away from you. So the judge had to find reasons as to why he was ruling the way he did, and he said it's antitrust laws and the harm. And when you have those two, he granted the preliminary, which isn't a final ruling, but it sure does shows the way as to where he's probably going to go once you have a full trial on the junction. It's on the permanent injunction.
Because you would imagine that they're going to appeal, right? Like the NCAA doesn't have much left to stand on, so they're going to have to appeal this ruling just because of the merits of it all.
And the word is that his
there's no reason to appeal. Yeah.
Well, one of the comments that was made was this would not be allowed in any other employer-employee.
And this as being you can induce
in anything.
Inducement is legal in everything else.
Exactly. Yeah. So why is it
not legal here?
That's right.
And as much as we've kind of had the conversation, for people who watch the show, I think it's easy. You could sit here and say that as a show, we don't necessarily agree with NIL, but you can't disagree with this, right? Like, there's no way you could say, like, that's a bad ruling. It kind of is true, but that's the toothpaste out of the tube dilemma you've already created by having the thing go the way it's going.
And to clarify, it's not that we're against NIL. We're against the way it's structured.
That's my point, obviously. Like, I want kids to make their money, too.
Like,
the way you structured it was already bad.
Right.
This isn't bad, but
this makes sense. It's
makes
just going to make
sense,
it
right? It's
a lot harder to monitor.
Put the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah, it's going to make it a lot harder for them to control it. It was already hard enough for them to control it. Now it's going to be, even more Wild West.
In your eyes, is there a route? Is there a way to actually control this and get it back somewhere?
We kind of talked about this before about the employer-employee relationship makes it so hard because you want to make rules and you want to think that they're good, but if they violate regular employer-employee rules, I don't know how you fix that. I don't know if it's union issues. I don't know that issue, but these are all things that have, since it became, legal, these are all issues.
Right.
And when you read some of the articles, they got some really good stuff about, from the player's perspective, you're limiting the information he has when he's deciding where he wants to go play football, because you're not allowing him to know, well, what are my NIL opportunities over there?
Who gets to cut?
I just have to rely on these promises.
Right.
And then the kids get there and the promises fail. Well, the kid's already signed his letter of intent. He's stuck at a school. And you say, well, they can let him out of his letter of intent. Well, if you let him out of his letter of intent, everybody's already signed.
Yeah.
The kid that was going to Florida, where did he end up? Arizona State?
I don't even know now.
Yeah,
Did he end up at Arizona State?
Yeah.
One of the highest recruited quarterbacks in the country gets his release from Florida, but he looks out there and everybody's like, we got our guys already,
Yeah.
And so he ends up at Arizona State. And so that's some of the conversation of you're putting these kids, that's the harm.
Right.
How are you harming these kids? You're hurting their ability to create their livelihood.
Right.
Well, you're operating under a free market society without a free market. Like everybody is in college football, at least at this point, is a free agent at all times. Like it's not a fair or free market for other teams to be able to compete in a sense. Like that's where the problem is that you can leave at any time because of the conjunction of the transfer portal and NIL at the same time.
The issue that I have with the whole thing, is they want to pay to play, which I'm good with. But at the same time, people will compare, it's professional sports. No. It's better than professional sports
for the athlete. For the athlete.
Yeah. Because you have no contractual obligations to your employer,
and you have no contractual obligations.
Right.
If you don't like
you have two sides of it. You have no contractual obligations coming in, and on the other side of it, you don't have a true measurement of the playing field that you're actually asked to step up to. So a lot of these kids are coming in and they're throwing this money and that money, and we have no clue who you just made your name against.
No, exactly.
We have no clue who you just
the
made your
level
name
of
against.
competition is
so
not
we
the
don't know
same.
what we're actually paying for when you get here.
Right.
So that's the two sides of it. Where in professional sports there is not that. There is the law of large numbers. There's so much that's going on at these levels. You have a much better idea of what you're getting when you pay for it at that level.
Right.
This level, it's the Wild Wild West.
Right.
It's literally a Cracker Jack box. Yeah, it's crazy.
You know what you're getting when you pay for that when you're a free agent in the NFL or a free agent.
Got you for 3 years.
Yeah, right. Like coming up, same thing. Even drafting him out of high school, or out of college.
But to say it's the same thing drafting out of college.
Like, you don't know what you're
The
gonna
law
get.
of large numbers said this level, the college level, has been this. We may miss, but we're
right.
not going to overpay so crazy to where it doesn't
Right.
matter.
Right.
That can happen here.
Yeah.
And you can do incentive-based
Yeah.
contracts
Yeah.
where,
Right.
okay, rush for 1,000 yards,
Yeah.
and then you hit this bonus or
Yeah.
this or whatever, and that's pay for play.
But you also
and
know
NIL.
that
Can't
when
do
you
it.
draft them, they are going to be with you for however long their contract,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
however long you want them, unless you cut them.
Yeah.
Here, you go and they're contractually obligated for not even a year. They come here, I don't like this, I'm in the portal, I'm gone. Right, which is wild
two
to me.
windows.
So I like the NIL idea of, hey, you're going to give you your worth and pay for it, but I also it's very hard to regulate because there's really no.
Watch the spring portal.
Yeah.
Yo,
Well,
good
there,
God.
Jacoby
Spring
Matthews
portal.
from A&M's already in there.
Yep.
But he has to sit out if he goes to the SEC. Isn't that the rule?
But does he? Because that's an NCAA rule. Why would you not say that it's against his fair ability to make money?
That's going to be a whole nother thing. Well, no, that's not money. That's just transfer.
Right, but if he's from Louisiana, if he has the fair market right to make more money in Louisiana, what's stopping him aside from an NCAA rule?
Is that his second transfer?
No.
No,
This will be his
but this
first?
is the second window, and so usually by rule,
The
if you-
NCAA rule.
the NCAA rule, if you put yourself in the portal in the second,
Second in the May thing.
and
yeah.
then you have to sit out. You can't transfer within conference.
I mean,
And
you
not
know
sit
there's
out.
litigation going to be on that. If they took
That's
the
what I'm
two
saying. And they,
transfers,
would,
they will.
Exactly.
and they would win.
you
Exactly.
can't.
And there should be.
Yes, you can go work for someone, but you can't go work for those 10 people.
Yeah.
You can't go work for that
I mean,
top
that's a
competitor.
non-compete issue, which in Louisiana, you have to abide by A, B, C, D, and E, or else a non-compete is not valid.
Yeah.
You have to have specific elements in a contract.
Which are not written in, I'd imagine.
to be able to do
these.
that, which, it's exactly.
Yeah, it's not written into the scholarship offer.
That's right.
I can promise you that.
That letter of
Do you
intent?
think there's a way to actually, I guess, calm down the portal by saying it's not making a non-compete, but making a punch list of things that you can't, or I say a punch list of things that in a court of law could be, I guess, debated, if you will.
If you're limiting someone's ability to make money, and
You'll lose every time.
you lose every time.
Well, obviously,
Yeah,
that's
but I guess what he's
my
asking-
point is, like, if we sit here and we say you go to school, there's 3 quarterbacks on the roster, you leave to say you're going to another school, and you say I'm leaving because I get a chance to make money here. Could we go to court rule and say, hey, by rule of it, that's what you're saying, but we can see that there's 2 quarterbacks in front of you. You ain't playing. That's why you're transferring. We won't give it to you. Like, is there a way to be able to kind of?
I mean, that would be an opinion, really.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. I'm throwing something out there.
The guy
Like,
could say, "No, I was going to beat those 2 guys out. I'm not worried about them. I just got $250,000 over here, and I don't have it there." I don't know. There's no good. I think about
It'd
it
be
all
a
the time.
CBA. It'd have to be like
That's
a,
what I've been saying for 2 years.
Well, and now
That's
we haven't even talked about what do you do with Florida State, and what do you do with the teams that have gotten in trouble for
Well,
the
they're
inducement.
now. So here's my other point to that, right?
You just become the example.
Yeah, but here's my other point. Inducement, right?
You're a hero.
They are in trouble for inducement. Now the inducement
is legal.
rule is legal. So are they going to say, okay, now that it's legal, you are fine? Or are you going to say, oh, no, this happened before it was legal?
They didn't do it when
because
Will Wade
that's where I was getting to.
You can't retroactively.
Because Will Wade got fired because, hey, you did this, and now NIL is a real thing, and now you're gone. Can't triple stamp a double stamp. You want to hear the most annoying word the sound in the world? So like that's the conundrum that the NCAA faces. And is there a way, in your opinion, to save the NCAA? Or do you think it's cooked?
Oh yeah.
Do you think there's a way for them? Because you said before the only way that the NCAA could potentially get saved is if Congress steps
comes
in.
and that's what they're going to need. the NCAA, the SEC, the big whatever.
I feel like Congress should be worried
Big
about
Ten.
some
They're
other
getting
things.
so big that do they need the NCAA?
Well,
where
that's
it comes down to
the
it.
argument, right? Like,
And-
does Big Ten and SEC team
Well, I
up and
mean,
say, okay,
Does
we'll
the
figure
NCAA
this
now
thing out.
become like the national
The party planning committee.
free agent pool, basically? Like NFL is like each NFL, right? Is they got its hood. Free agents are NFL. They're obviously independent contractors, right? But does the NCAA become that now? Like, hey, like we know you're eligible to be able to play.
What a
at
wild time for college
Like
sports.
it's crazy.
Or do they just change what they do? Like they used to govern. Do they
Right.
now do
Party-
something else so they can stay relevant?
Run the tournament.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
Yeah,
all you
I mean,
really have done.
or
TV
run-
rights will be there no matter what.
Or run every other sport except for football.
You can't, but basketball's making crazy money too.
Basketball's
that's their
doing-
that's their bread maker.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so
Yeah.
you can't say that basketball makes crazy money too.
And I mean, look at women's college basketball.
Women's college basketball, there is some real high.
Go look at the value
Right.
of the top 5 NIL
Yeah.
players
Right.
over there and the money.
So
But
you
that-
really
and
can't
that's-
kick that out of it
Right.
either. So
And that's a yeah, I'm with you. But to
That's
me,
tough.
that they make their money. Obviously, you get enticed to come to school, right? Like, hey, here's some NIL deals. But they're also getting bigger endorsements off of the field outside of just getting, hey, here's a booster giving you checks,
Yeah.
right? At least the big money ones that are making all the big money in NIL, like Flaugier,
Well,
Angel
yeah.
Reese.
Yeah,
Angel
but what do you-
and Flaugier
but-
are part of the G team.
Yeah,
Right,
but
but like
you're
outside
saying
of that,
outside
no,
of
you're
that,
saying
they
that,
are-
but I gotta imagine it would
agree.
only be smart if I am a coach on that roster, and if I'm going to recruit, I'm gonna tell. This is what you
Oh,
have to
no
do.
doubt.
So then, like,
No
then
doubt.
you can't say that because the next is going to be coming looking
No
for the
doubt.
same opportunity at that point.
It's
Yeah.
a
I mean,
crazy-
Angel Reese was on the NBA 2K
That's what I'm saying.
commercial.
That's what I'm saying.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
It's
Then
awesome
you
for
start.
her.
Yeah, it's great for
Flaugier
like.
had a Super Bowl commercial
Yeah.
for the G team.
She did.
Pretty
she
awesome.
did. How
It
was
was
that?
unbelievable.
She did that so fast, and when I got the first part of it, I was like,
She's already gone.
"There's no way you did this fast." I gave her words that she had to use that we wanted, to kind of go through, and I mean, 2 days she came back, and it was incredible. I talk to
Talent,
her
bro.
mom all the time, Kia, who is a great lady.
I mean, that is.
Awesome. That's when you were like, okay, that talent's real. I can
Yes.
see it's a
That's
different
NIL.
thing. I could never do that.
It was I was blown away.
Yeah. No, she's super
And then
talented.
The final product was just
Yeah. Awesome.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Gordon gives you some good words to work with. Ferrari, Lamborghini.
I mean, she crushed it.
Yeah.
She did.
She crushed it. It was it's a wild time to be in college sports.
I said it was like 3 to 5 years. I think they just elongated that a little bit with this ruling. It's gonna be like 3 to 10 years where you're trying to figure out how on earth do you put this to.
How are they going to rule? How are they going
I don't
to
know how you
control
fix it.
any part of it if they just got their 2 transfer rule kicked? Now you get the inducement rule kicked. I mean,
you're gonna have 0 rules left.
yes.
It's the NCAA's fault for building it behind the guise of a made-up word that they invented in amateurism, where, okay, that was everything that they had to stand on was, well, it's under the guise of amateurism, where you get free room and board and books. That's your scholarship. You're an amateur athlete. It's like, why? And then the sport got so popular to the point where it was, we're clearly making money.
Well, and
Where's
the-
it going?
And the other side of that is you're an amateur athlete. You get free
Are
room
you?
and board. But here's my argument to that. Since we were in school, right before NIL was a thing, my argument to that was, yeah, you're giving me scholarship, free room and board. I get to come to school, but what about that person that came here for out-of-state that had this full academic ride? That's also interning at this place making $30,000 a year.
Like literally,
Right,
he may
yeah.
be working a full 40
What if he's
hours
working a
somewhere.
job? What if he's able to do both, and that person's working a job making $30,000-$40,000 a year?
There's no rule against that.
Right? No rules. So yeah,
There
everything
used
paid
to be.
for. Not academically.
Not for academics.
No, not academically. But
That's
I'm saying
my
you-
argument.
Yeah,
That's-
but I'm saying, no, even, like, this rule has been, I think it's been probably 10, 15 years, but the NCAA used to say you couldn't have a job outside of athletics.
That's what I'm getting at.
I know.
That's the problem.
That's what I'm saying. Like as an
academic.
as an academic scholarship athlete, not playing sports.
Yeah, you could play the pan flute.
You
and
could
get
do
paid $1
whatever
billion.
you wanted to do to make money out of the classroom. Sports, you could never do that. Right?
You couldn't
That
even have
was-
a job.
Right.
Yeah.
That was my argument. One, you didn't have time to do it, and 2, even if you had time, they were not allowed.
I mean, you got
to make
the
money.
same time that in the day that these kids got, right? Like it's the same situation. They came here for school, they're doing this. You came here for school and ball, and you're doing this. And if you could find time to do something,
Right.
just like they found time to do something and do something more, why were you not able to earn
Profit.
what they're able to
Right.
earn?
Right.
That shouldn't be a thing.
That's the argument. And we're not going to find the answer here, but it's a nice conversation.
If Congress
Bruce.
can't figure it out,
Right. Well,
trying. I mean,
They get paid way more to do this than we
no
do.
doubt. No doubt.
Does this shape the way that y'all look at it differently? Like even today, like have y'all had conversations in regards to NIL? Of,
Esquire.
well, so it's a preliminary injunction, so it's not actually, it's just
It's the first step of.
it's the
right?
first step.
Yeah,
of
but
it.
I
But
imagine you
if
could
you
read
could
the
paint
room.
this picture,
And of course, the NCAA is like, well, we think we're still going to win at trial, and the judge is like, well, I think they got a really good chance of winning. So
So when is the trial?
the judge will set it.
Oh, he hadn't said it yet.
No, and
Okay.
so because you have to get through the first part, and then you go
Right.
to the permanent injunction. In the meantime, NCAA is trying to figure out a way to get their rules out of antitrust, and that's legal stuff that we would need.
Yeah, we don't have
antitrust
time.
experts. And
So more time.
That's not your. That's not
I
your
just know
expertise.
that that's where they're going.
Yeah.
The
So
NCAA
more
is trying
time or less time hurts the NCAA? Hurts or helps the NCAA?
Right now, the faster the ruling is, the worse for NCAA, because as the rules sit right now,
Yeah.
slippery slope.
they're going to lose.
Right.
Who NCAA.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if they can get in there and get Congress to enact some things, that then makes what they're doing not as bad. So if they pull the antitrust out of it, and now you're just looking at harm to kids or what are the standard, they have a better chance of winning. But if it goes really fast and the rules that are sitting as they are,
Yeah. Not
they're in
good.
a bad spot.
And it feels like college football wants it to go as fast as possible.
Yeah, I mean, you got kids that are deciding on scholarship. They're deciding where they want to go.
Yeah.
Can I do this?
Yeah, college basketball is full swing right now, so it's not really a thing. But like you said, there's another window for these kids to be like, well,
You're
can
in it
I
right
get more
now.
money here?
That's why I'm
Yeah.
telling you this. If this is all open in the spring transfer portal, the spring transfer portal is usually not a lot going on. The kids that are getting out there know they're going to start wherever they go, so they don't have to beat the rush. But this changes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. This is.
No pressure, Gordon.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh shit.
This is like signing a week of spring training.
I mean, look, and we've talked about this a lot, or the week after.
Show up the fall
Y'all
camp.
need me? 2
Show up
weeks
the
into
fall camp.
camp.
I just got my new deal, baby. Ready
2
for
weeks in the
camp.
camp, which is actually happening right now. A lot of people are signing right now.
Willie
Bellinger,
Mays straight
your
out of
boys,
bed.
Your boy, the
80
Cubs.
million.
The Cubs are just dishing out money to a bunch
Hey,
of these
Chris
guys.
Jones before the season for the Chiefs. This is what this turns
is it.
into. Like, how much can I get up to the deadline, baby?
Bet y'all need me.
We've talked about it. They are going to have to create, whether it's the NCAA that turns into this, whether it's a new committee that turns into
That's
there's-
where they should pivot.
They're gonna create. They're gonna have to create a CBA.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to create a collective bargaining agreement, just like the NFL, and say these are. We're going to negotiate. These are what the university are going to negotiate, and you have bylaws, and you have rules, and you have an actual contract signed by both represented parties. That's the only way.
Nick Saban, insert Greg Sankey.
Yeah,
There you go.
That's the only way you're
And
going to be
Mikkie.
able to bottle this thing up and create some sort of rule.
Uniformity, yeah.
And that's it. Because you can't. It can't. This is not sustainable.
The thing about it is, here's what's crazy. This is me being completely honest when I say this. This is all fun and great, and there's no better time to be a college athlete when it comes to making money. But this is so far away from what's real life that they have no clue of what it's like when you actually leave and go into real life. Whether that's you going to professional sports, whether that's you going to a professional job. It doesn't work this way anywhere else. So you're creating this false mindset of what is actually real, and truthfully, outside of just the dollar amount, it doesn't help these kids.
Yeah, and that's one thing to just on the way Gordon handles his NIL stuff and things that he wants to happen every single time is when he meets with those kids and he meets with every single one of them and talks to them, it's an employer-employment contract, okay? And there's deliverables that you have to do. And if you
Right.
don't do them, you're not getting what you're supposed to get. And so he's trying to implement that and push that on them that you're going to get 1099 when you're done. You got tax implications on here. You have to do these things or else you're not earning your money. And when you go to get a job and you don't earn your money, you don't get your paycheck. And so it becomes hard when
There's no.
But say
There's
that's
all the-
every,
there's no binding
everyone
agreement,
doesn't
really.
everyone doesn't operate with that same integrity. Let's just call a spade a spade.
Exactly.
From
Exactly.
state to state situation, it just doesn't happen that way.
No, that's exactly right. And what I was going to talk to you one more thing was, we talk about NIL all the time, and we equate it to, a running back's life is like what, 3 years?
Yeah, something like
it's
that.
something very small.
Yeah. Not life
What-
in general. Lifespan in the NFL.
No, lifespan in the NFL, where they
Yeah.
got to get their money, they got to get paid, they got to make it.
Which they don't. They don't let them.
What is the percentage of kids that go to the NFL?
They go
that
professional
are at
in
college.
everything other than
Let's get
sports.
them to college.
That's
which
always
is-
been my biggest thing because it's like, hey, we're doing so much to get some of these kids here. Not we, obviously, like the landscape of how this thing is right now. But we still forget the number of college athletes that go pro. That hasn't changed.
Is it 1%?
It's still the same.
Something like that,
It's still the
1%.
same
Something-
microscopic percent.
So this kid has a 1% chance of making it any further than this college.
Mm-hmm.
So they're protecting themselves and got to get what they can.
1.6%
Yeah,
of
99
college football players make it to the NFL.
So 98.4% are not going to get any money after these 3 or 4 years
From the NFL.
from their sport,
Right.
Yeah, from playing a sport.
from
yeah.
what they've been doing their entire lives and
Right.
preparing for. That's another issue that why these kids are pressing what they're pressing, and they're rightfully so.
No doubt. I don't fault the athletes.
No,
at
you
all.
can't fault because the system is what it is. You
Yeah, I'll
can't
do the
fault the
same
kids
thing.
at all.
Yeah, I don't fault them at all. It's just one of those things that when it's done.
99% of the rest of you will go pro in something other than sports.
Yes.
That was the old NCAA commercial.
That was, and they
Still
are wrong.
It's still a true commercial. Though.
They just,
Been nice to make money during those 4 years.
no doubt. Let's maximize
some of them 9
my-
years. You just never know.
Well, and here's the deal.
COVID.
I mean, the stats on the transfer portal kids that don't end up at a school.
That's the crazy. That
It's
we've
awful.
talked about that too.
I mean, that's another thing pushing this is people don't realize you have thousands of kids,
In the portal that aren't going
Still
to go
there.
anywhere.
and they lose their scholarship.
Right.
So now they've lost their scholarship.
Don't have a place to play.
Now they don't have a place to go. And they're done.
Right. Right. That was another conversation piece that we had when we talked about was the portal. It was like you put yourself in the portal, grass isn't always greener. If somebody, let's say you're in the portal and you are the 5th-rated wide receiver, and all of a sudden something like this happens at A&M and Alabama and all these other schools, now everybody starts putting their names in the portal. Now instead of being the 4th, you're the 24th.
Coach, you could be the first. Look, what if you're the first one that puts it in there and you are the one? And then the thing at Alabama happens and the thing
Right.
at Florida State happens and you go from the 1
To the 12.
9. And you're
Yeah.
like,
Can I come
it's
back?
not the same for me anymore.
Right.
So, like, yeah, it really doesn't matter where you are in this thing.
Right.
That's what's crazy about
Which is
it.
wild. And to me, I think that
So there's
and this is the
a whole lot of
last
kids from Stanford in the portal.
right, and this is the last thing I want to talk about. Obviously, we've kept you a lot longer than we anticipated. Hope you're good. Hope you don't have a meeting
having
after
fun.
this. The
All
thing
billable
that
hours.
The thing that I like that what Gordon does, right, and he's not the only one. I'm sure there's other people around the country that probably structure it not similar, maybe similar, right, in a way. What he's doing is he's allowing these kids, okay, you're going to make money off of your name, image, and likeness, right? You're going to make money because you've earned it and because we feel like you're a good partner, right? Y'all feel like, hey, character-wise,
Personality.
personality-wise, you fit what we're looking for. But we're also going to teach you what the real-world business is like. Right. So this is what we're giving you. In return, this is what we need to get back. And it teaches these athletes
Accountability.
accountability in the world of business.
Yeah.
And I think that's a longer. They're able to benefit from that longer than they would if like, oh, I'm just gonna give you this. You don't have to do anything. Don't worry.
Yeah,
Here's a
exactly.
handout. And then now all of a sudden, after 4 years down the road, you don't make it to NFL. Where are my handouts?
Yeah.
Where's my gimmies? You don't have that anymore because now you got to go out there and try to earn it. And I think that's the big disconnect. But I think that's
Yeah, you
a
see
really good thing that the
charities
G team is
get
trying to do.
benefit from it.
Yeah.
Kids
Yeah.
start thinking that way. They're, thinking about charities, thinking about doing
Right.
stuff, and it makes them a better person.
Right. It takes that money. Maybe you take that money, you create something else with it, or
Exactly.
it allows them to create
Yeah.
money that's going to be made for years to come, not just the first 3 or 4 years that they have in college.